The Supra is not fast enough for those wheels, and that all ends today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. If you've been part of the channel for a while now, you will know that BimmerNetwork and I have set a goal to make this car extremely fast. Currently, right now, the car is rocking a full flex fuel kit from BimmerNetwork, the TMS flex fuel kit, and it also has an upgraded billet aluminum manifold that is already slotted for port injection. And if you haven't guessed already, that is exactly what we're doing today. But that's not all. Once we get all of that installed, we are then going to flash this car with a base map file from David Shoop, who is going to be tuning this car for port injection. And hopefully by the end of this video, this car will max out the stock turbo, making hopefully around 550 wheel horsepower. Right now it makes 491 real horsepower on E30, E40. And today we'll be able to run full E85. Now some may argue that even 550 wheel is not enough to be able to run beadlocks on a Supra. Well, once we get all this dialed, we will then figure out what turbo we want to run for this car. Of course, that's also coming from BimmerNetwork. And then we're gonna upgrade the turbo to make this car even faster, hopefully over that 700 wheel mark. Now this does look like kind of a lot, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it is. We got the motive reflex right here, we got all the harnesses, and luckily there are some instructions on the TMS box, so I think we just get into this thing, and if we have any issues, we can also call BimmerNetwork. Their customer service is top tier, and if we have anything that goes wrong, I'm sure they will have some answers for us. And a little bit later in this video, I did have to give BimmerNetwork a call. But until that happened, I did the stuff that I knew how to do. Of course, with the help of some instructions and YouTube videos. And the first step was get the rail on the car. Using a little bit of oil, I lubed up the injectors, put them into the rail. Once all 6 injectors were seated correctly, we then were able to move the rail over to the car. However, the car had plugs where the port injection goes, because when we're not running port injection, we can't have those holes open and exposed. So I took the plugs out, set them to the side, and then slowly put the rail on the manifold, being very careful not to hurt an injector or have something seat wrong, because we want to have no leaks when this is done. And now that the simple stuff was out of the way, it was time to tackle the wiring. Now, since I already had the flex fuel kit that was plugged in to my footwell module, the only thing that I had to do was unplug my old harness to my flex fuel sensor and my old module to then plug in the reflex and the reflex harness. How the reflex harness works is it's basically a bunch of plugs that run along the injectors that we added, and also some spacer plugs that plug into sensors like my crank sensor and plug into the original harness that comes with the car. Once all the wiring was done on top, I then went to the hardest part, which was the crank sensor at the bottom of the car. A little bit difficult to get to, but once that was done, it was then on to the final step, linking the port injection to the fuel line. Well, welcome to day 2, and this should be the final day of getting everything set up and flashed. Of course, flashing a car is one thing, but when you're doing stuff like this, it's all custom tuned. So that means there are going to be a few days of revisions and base map files and stuff like that from David Shoop. But all the BimmerNetwork stuff was perfect. And if you want anything from them, go ahead and check them out. They are the one-stop shop to make your BMW as fast as you want it to be. And also, they have some cool stuff that will make it look good as well. But aside from that, we gotta go ahead and make this car look good. I have all the wiring done and all the fuel system stuff done. So now it's time to just make this whole mess of wires look good. Get some nice zip ties and get everything buttoned up. We also gotta update the reflex before we can flash, and then we can flash the car and see if we have any leaks. I did prime the system before flashing, and we had one small leak on that 10 bar sensor. So I tightened that even more, and it shouldn't leak now. So let's go ahead, clean this up, and update the reflex. Here we go. This one looks a little wet. wet. Yeah, it's definitely fuel. It's running fine, it's idling fine. It's not skipping a beat. So we're gonna figure out if that injector's leaking or not and go for our first drive. Now I wasn't sure if the injector just didn't seat right or if there was an issue with the little top hat piece on the injector. Either way, I wasn't taking any chances, so I ended up swapping out the top hat piece because I had extras, put it on, put the seal onto that new piece, slid the injector in, started her up, and well, looks like that fixed it. Let's let her warm up, get her off the lift, and go get our first log. Can never be too safe. Now this log is gonna be pretty simple. All it is fourth gear, 2,500 RPM to 4,000 RPM, manual mode, everything off, and we have to be on a flat road in Mexico. But honestly, fourth gear to 4,000, we're not even gonna hit 60. So it's just gonna be one of those logs just to make sure the car is running right, and then we'll park it and wait for a revision, flash again. Okay, starting log, getting up to there, and punch it. And that's it. Okay, we have good news and we have bad news. The good news is that we have a new map to flash on the car. Bad news is the car is not reading E anymore. Now, if you remember when we put flex fuel on the car a few videos ago, we had the same kind of issue, and the issue was because I accidentally selected the wrong mode for the can, which means I told the car that the way the ethanol was getting read was by one system when it was another. Now the car is on reflex, not Zytronics, and the car is still not giving us any ethanol content. And even though the car is on 91 octane, there still is trace amounts of E in 91. So it should be reading like E8, E7, E6, but it's reading straight 0. I don't know. We're gonna go ahead, flash it again, and maybe the new flash might wake it up, but I don't think so. I also checked all the pins. Everything checks out. So I have no idea. Map is flashed. Probably shouldn't have done that with my phone at 3%. No, I definitely shouldn't have done that, but it's finished. So let's go ahead, open the door, let everything cycle through, and see if we're reading ethanol now. We're gonna monitor. Still nothing. Well, we did some more digging. I checked to make sure that this cord is getting power to the sensor with a multimeter. It's my wife's. My wife actually did it because she's actually used this. Fun fact, I've never used a multimeter until today, but this is getting power. So then the next thing, which BimmerNetwork told me to try, was unplug it and see if the MHD data is reading 0 or 100 for ethanol content. It's still reading 0. So that leads us to assume that maybe the setting is selected wrong in the flash. Maybe I didn't update the reflex correctly or something. The new flash is on the car though, but we can't really do a log until this is figured out. So I'll let you know when we figure it out. Well boys, I think we may have figured out the issue. May, that's not 100%. Now in the beautiful state of Idaho and Washington, our gas is 92 octane, not 91 like in California, Oregon, and all those places. So my thought process was this. I drive this car a lot and across the country. So if this car is going to see 91 octane, shouldn't the tune have its lowest octane fuel map be 91? Because we're going to be on flex fuel where the car is going to adjust based off the fuel. So the lowest fuel would be 91 and the highest fuel would be E85. And there's only one gas station that's close that has 91, and that's a 76. And we think that that gas station doesn't have any ethanol in the fuel and it's just straight 91 octane. Where typically 91 and 92 should have an E content of E8 to E10. So we're gonna go over to Hurricane Motorsports, put in a little bit of E85 and see if the sensor reads. Because the sensor was working, because Motive actually hopped on and checked it and said, yeah, it should be working. So let's find out. All right, beautiful VP Racing from Jordan over at Hurricane Motorsports. Pretty soon we're gonna come back here, and it won't be with this car. The car will be green and it'll have a V10, and then it will have 2 turbos on it. But for now, this car is gonna be a little quicker. Hopefully after this too, with port, when it's on full E, if we can figure out this ethanol content situation, the car will make more power than the Huracan. The Huracan right now, catless, probably makes around 520 wheel, and this should make 550 wheel with the stock turbo. All right, so we're 2 bars higher than before, so we got a good amount of E in the car. Now it's probably gonna take a second to connect, and it's probably gonna take a second for fuel to get up into the lines, because right now it was just the 91, so we gotta cycle in some of this E on top. So this might take a second. It's reading very slowly, but it's reading. It went from 0 to 2, so that's a good sign. That means it is working. And while we're pulling out, it goes up to E34. So yeah, we're not going to 76 anymore. That also makes sense why the car was pulling timing too, because it had like 0 ethanol in it. Because even pump gas will have trace amounts. Okay, well that's good news. Let's contact the tuner, tell him what we did, ask him what we should do to be able to mix this gas back down, because he probably doesn't want to start off the base map files on E40. So yeah, I'll see you when we do the next vlog. Over that weekend, I had to drive the car a lot to get the gas gone, and then we put fresh 92 in it, narrowed down the tune for 92, and then we were ready to jump in to E85. Hopefully we can put these bead locks to use now. Well, for you, it's been a few seconds, but for me, it's been a few days. Believe it or not, the B58 is actually a very fuel-efficient engine. Over the last few days, I have been trying to get this car down off pump gas, and since it is on base map, you can't drive it hard. When you drive a car hard, that's when you go through more gas. So yeah, the car got all the way down to basically no gas on that crappy, no ethanol gas that I put in it. And we put 92 in it today. And I've been talking to David Shoop. We've been going back and forth on logs for pump gas. And today we got everything dialed on the pump gas section. And honestly, pump for pump, this feels a million times better than when it was on an off-the-shelf map and no port injection. So now the plan is to put E85 in this thing and see how it goes. And Shoop's gonna adjust the tune, so I figured we might as well pick up the camera when the fun starts, and E85 is when the real fun starts happening. Also, it is very hot out. IATs today have been a pain for David and I, so logs took a while because I had to drive the car on the freeway for a good amount of time to drop IATs. Once we got them dropped to a good level is when I could then start the log. So yeah, it's 95 degrees right now, so not ideal, but we're making it work. That should do it. So after driving around for about 5 minutes, we are sitting right at E59, E61, which is where Shoop kind of wanted us. He wants us realistically at full E85, but we still had some pump gas in the tank when I put the E in. I'm just trying to get as much data for him as possible right now because he has time to tune my car. So we might do a bunch of E60 stuff, and if he says it's good and that if we run E85, the tune will adjust for that, solid. If he says, okay, this is dialed, we'll probably have to do one last revision on full E, then we can go do that. So let's go ahead and get our first pull. I've never been this high of octane in this car. E60 is pretty freaking high for this car, and we can do it now with port injection for BimmerNetwork. So if you want anything for your B58, S55, S58, N55, go check out BimmerNetwork. They got you covered. And if you want a really good tune by someone who knows what they're talking about, David Shoop is the man. So I'm gonna leave a link for both of them down in the description. I'll have a discount code for BimmerNetwork. I'm excited. Okay. Oh my gosh. Ready? And that's all she wrote right there. We were spinning. He might want me to go into third on that one because second gear was pretty freaking spicy. Oh my gosh. Wow. She moves. She moves. So Shoop said he'll call us in about 20 minutes. I'm going to do one more log. Only this time I'm going to do it third through fourth because I feel like the data from the first log we just did is not good enough because we had so much wheel spin. That feels fast. If you have a B58 and you don't want to upgrade a turbo, port injection and a David Shoop tune, dialed. All right, time to put on file number 2 for ethanol. This time Shoop wants us to go all out in just one gear, fourth gear, 2,500 RPM all the way up to redline. Okay, we are flashing. Nobody move. Nobody touch anything. Welcome to Tijuana, Mexico. Beautiful day out. Just gonna do a log real quick. Fourth and floor it. Actually pretty freaking fast now. I would like to see it up against the Huracan. I still feel like the Huracan will win though, because the Huracan's DCT while this is EF8. There is one issue that we are having with this car, and that issue is we don't have XHP on this thing. Shoop said that if this car had XHP, it would actually handle the tune a lot better. So after this video, we're gonna get XHP flashed on this thing. It's going to shift faster, and it's just going to accept the power a lot better. All right, now it is 8 p.m. for me, and Shoop has a Florida number, so I think he is located in Florida, which puts him at 10 o'clock. So I don't know if we're gonna get another revision today, but this car feels really good right now. I'm sure on his end, he sees a lot of flaws that could be cleaned up, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. So I will see you on the next flash. Now this is where we get into the fun stuff. Now, yes, this car feels a whole lot faster to me, but Shoop said that this car still feels like it's being a little restricted. Now, where I live, altitude is 2,200 feet above sea level, so that plays a role. Another thing that kind of plays a role in this as well is this is a 2-port head Supra, not a 6-port. So that also can play a role as well as far as flow from the turbo. But he tweaked some things, pulled some fuel out of the port injection and make it more into the direct injection at certain RPMs. A lot of stuff that a lot of us probably don't really understand. I don't really understand it that well. So, Shoop's the professional. Let's flash and get out there again. All right, here we go. Feels good. Now, if you could tell on the shifts, you heard that big pop. That is what Shoop likes to say. The car does not like it. So with XHP, the shift's just a lot more smooth. So there's no overlap. Because what happens is when the shift is not crisp, the car will actually pull timing, and that will lead into the next gear, and then it'll gradually add timing back in. So we don't want to have a shift lose timing, lose power, go into the next shift, have the car slower, and then have it gradually come back. We want it to be powerful through the next shift. So that was what we kind of did at the beginning, was we shifted from second to third and third to fourth. That was a show Shoop that it wasn't pulling as much timing, because he did help with that a lot, but he said if we get XHP, that'll help get rid of almost all, if not all, of that timing pull at the top of a gear. That road wasn't the smoothest. Well, this is it. The moment we have all been waiting for. The Supra is finally gonna go up against the Lamborghini. BimmerNetwork and I have been talking about making this car faster than the Lambo, and we've been talking about that before we thought about doing the twin turbo kit on the Lambo, so we wanna get our races in before this thing gets twin turbo, which should be very, very soon. So that means it's time to go to Mexico and race. Remy, I'm giving up the key to probably the car that will still win, because it has a lot more RPMs in it and a V10 and no turbos. It's all NA power, but we gotta sell this. We gotta see which one's faster. Now, yes, everything's finalized now. The tune is good to go, and once the Huracan wins, we're gonna end up getting that bigger turbo from BimmerNetwork as well, because I would like it to be able to beat this car, but I think by the time we put that turbo on, this car will have 2 turbos on. Remy, start up your engine. I'm starting to get nervous, and they're both my cars. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. This car might beat the Lambo. It might. It pulls. The Lambo looks so freaking good behind us. I still can't believe that I have a Lamborghini. That's so crazy to me. That was actually close. That was actually really close. Holy, that was good. That's gnarly. Hey, I was actually pretty close.
It was pretty
I was
close.
not expecting to be that close.
What gear were you in?
I was in 3rd gear.
Yeah, I was in
So you're in 3rd gear? So we're gonna run it back. This time, my cameraman, my wife, she's gonna be in your car, and you're gonna honk, and I'll be on that side of you now.
Okay. We would have had it. It's pretty comparable, honestly, though.
That wasn't bad.
That was pretty insane. If you put a stock Huracan against this car, it would gap. And also keep in mind, 1.5 of my shifts equals 1 of his, because he's shifting at around 9K and I'm shifting at around 6,500. But there you have it. Port injection really does make a huge difference, especially when you go all out in the fuel and get that custom tune by David Shoop. If you want to make your B58 this fast or faster, go check out BimmerNetwork and use my code down below and tell David Shoop that I sent you when you need a tune. Also, I forgot to mention, this car is still on E60. It isn't on full E85. If it was full E85, I honestly might get you by a bumper.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Dang. This is wild. Well, it's getting kind of windy, and this video is getting more on the longer side, so we're gonna end it off here. These cars are neck and neck. Now it's time to get the M4 up to these guys' levels, because 488 wheel is not enough for the M4. It needs to make more. So it's either we're gonna put on those upgraded twins, or we're just gonna rush to get the 4N motor in. I still haven't decided, because there are a few things that I also need to get that I didn't know I needed to get to put the upgraded twins on. So I'm gonna make some phone calls, see what I can do. But on that note, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell. And thank you so much to BimmerNetwork for making this all possible. I'll see you guys next time. Drive safe.